welcome back everyone to another episode of The Hit with Higgins. Back at school, had a good Thanksgiving break. I hope all of you guys did too. And before I get into my sports content today, I wanted to take the time to announce the first sponsorship for the podcast. So the first sponsorship for The Hit, it's called Who's Drankin? And it's a brand that was created by Sean Wrigley and Joe Tortorella, two of my good friends here at Mercy. And the social media for this company will launch on Friday. And I'll make sure to leave the tags for those accounts in my bio and on this video on YouTube. In 1 month, so their release date is January 3rd, they're going to be releasing a couple different products for you guys to buy. I'm actually wearing one of them right now. I'm going to move this mic down real quick. It says Who's Drankin? Just a black shirt. It says Who's Drankin? They're coming out with sweaters, t-shirts. They're unisex clothing, so men and women can both buy it. Guys, I really believe in this. I know these guys believe in it. It's going to be awesome. And this is what this brand is kind of about. It's a brand that's all about having fun and making memories, which you might not remember, but your friends certainly will. Or at least hopefully they will. So it's just about having a good time, wearing cool stuff. Guys, I really believe in this. It's going to be awesome. So I'm going to make sure to drop their tags in my bio, all over my page. It'll be on this YouTube page. Give them a follow for more updates. They might be dropping some stuff early. So Sean Wrigley, Joe Tortorella, I'll drop their tags in this video on my page. You can find it all over my page. I follow the page on Instagram, so give the account a follow. I'm excited for this, man. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really cool. So make sure you give them a follow and check out their stuff. It's really cool stuff. I know I'm a little far away, but it just says Who's Drankin on the shirt. Their logo is just big monkey. You can't miss them. You can't miss them. Check it out. It's going to be sick. But besides that, it's been a crazy last few days in sports. Especially in college football. I mean, the college football coaching carousel has been going around and around, and it's not stopping anytime soon. You know, by the time you see this video, there'll probably be more changes to the college football landscape, but there's been two notable ones that have shook college football to its core. All right? And the first one, the big one probably, Lincoln Riley is leaving the University of Oklahoma and he's heading to USC. And I got to point this out too because it's been blowing up all over Twitter. A couple days ago, he was doing a press conference and he was getting asked questions about possibly leaving Oklahoma for LSU. And he emphatically said, I'm going to stop you right there. Whoever asked the question, he said, I'm going to stop you right there. I am not going to LSU. And not even 24 hours later, he's heading to Southern California. So whoever asked that question, he didn't lie. He wasn't lying about it. He just was heading somewhere else. And this is not long after they just lost a very close, tight game to Oklahoma State, their in-state rival. It's not long after. So Lincoln Riley, he's heading to USC. And think about this. USC, you're in Southern California. You're with a storied football program. Recruiting is going to be crazy easy, especially with all the homegrown talent in that backyard. That team should be very competitive very soon. I mean, Lincoln Riley is inheriting a quarterback, Jackson Dart, 4-star quarterback last year. He's going to be good. He only played really one game this year, and he showed out and then got hurt. But he's going to be impressive. And then they've also got a whole bunch of talent coming out of Los Angeles in the next couple years. And then on the flip side, for Oklahoma on the recruiting trail, they have lost 5 commitments in the past few days since he left. You know, 5-star quarterback, 5-star linebacker, 5-star running back, 5-star wide receiver, gone. They're not coming to Oklahoma. They might be going to USC. Especially there was the quarterback. Oh, jeez. Malachi Richardson, 5-star quarterback, was committed to Oklahoma. Not anymore. He's from California too. Was probably heading to SC, more than likely. So that is a huge, huge move for Lincoln Riley, for USC, and for Oklahoma as they get ready to move to the SEC. Where do they go from here? Who do they hire? I mean, it could be Bob Stoops. It could be his brother Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops has done a great job at the University of Kentucky. It's a prestigious basketball school that he has turned into a very, very good football school. He has. I mean, they were second place in the SEC East this year. I mean, the SEC was down to begin with, but still, it's the SEC. None of it is easy. And they went 9-3 this year, just in the regular season. So that's impressive. That's very, very impressive. So it could be one of the Stoops brothers. Other than that, I don't have any other big names to show out for you. But they need to do something, because Lincoln Riley made that team, made that offense, certainly. Speaking of that offense, Spencer Rattler has entered the portal, which is not a shock. He got benched against Texas. Caleb Williams came in and played outstanding. So him entering the portal isn't a shock, but at the same time, him entering the portal now, since Lincoln Riley has left, has given him that reason to leave. So the way the transfer portal works is you can leave and then you file a waiver to maybe play right away. That's the goal. So this can be his waiver. My coach left, so I don't want to be there anymore because my coach recruited me to this school. I went to this school for that coach. I don't want to be there. And that's fine. If he had transferred without Lincoln Riley leaving, he would have had to find something else to say on his waiver to get cleared. And the thing is, with big-time college athletes, for the most part, you can think of any reason you want to. They'll let you play if you're making money. Spencer Rattler's one of those guys. He makes money. He's made a ton of money just on his own in endorsement deals. And him going to a school is going to bring that school a bunch of money. You know? Regardless of the type of person he is. Because I said on the show, I don't think he's a good person. I don't really think so. And of course, I'm not in that locker room at Oklahoma. But I'm sure, like a lot of us, we all saw the kind of kid he was on QB1 in 2019. Granted, he was a senior in high school. And I know a lot of us, when we were seniors in high school, weren't the best people because we were 18-year-old douchebags. I get that. I get that. But the way he acted just didn't seem to me like somebody who would want to lead my football team. So he's going to go somewhere big. I could throw out a couple schools. I would think Ole Miss would be in play if Lane Kiffin stays. You know, I would think, I don't know, Arizona State could be in play depending on what Jaden Daniels does because he's from Arizona. I don't think he wouldn't go to Arizona because Arizona's in the toilet right now. But Arizona State could be in play depending on what Jaden Daniels does. So it's going to be an interesting recruiting process going in the second time for Spencer Rattler because he'll be highly recruited. You know, flaws and all, he's a talented quarterback. And his redshirt freshman year, he balled out at Oklahoma. Played very well. Led him to a good record. So that's going to be an interesting landing spot for him wherever he goes. But Lincoln Riley heading to USC is one of the biggest college football stories of the last 10 years because he's a great coach. And a lot of people wanted him in the NFL. And I don't know if he's an NFL coach. I think he's a perfect college coach because he knows how to recruit and his offense is perfect for college. It puts up so many points. So it's going to be exciting to watch USC over the next couple of years, but Oklahoma has to figure it out. They really have to figure it out. And now we see where Spencer Rattler goes. And I'm sure a lot of other Oklahoma players, I don't know how many people take stock in this, but Caleb Williams took out of his Instagram bio that he was an Oklahoma quarterback. And in this day and age, social media is a big indicator of what people are doing. You know, when someone's a free agent, they follow certain people. You know, I can think about early in this offseason, Allen Robinson following certain guys of teams that he might have wanted to go to. And the Bears ended up tagging him anyway, but there was a lot of stock taken over the fact that he followed certain people on Twitter or on Instagram of teams he might play for. So take that as you may, but whatever. There's going to be a lot of transfers out of that school because Lincoln Riley was that football team. And the big news coming out on Monday night, Brian Kelly is leaving Notre Dame to go to LSU, which is nuts. That's crazy. Brian Kelly is the winningest coach in the storied history of Notre Dame football. You know, he's better than Lou Holtz, than Newt Rockne, than all these guys as far as winning percentage. He has led them to so much success over the past 11 years. He's done a great job. He really has. And now Coach O got fired in October. They said you're going to finish out the year. And his replacement's going to be Brian Kelly. And he was another guy who came out with a statement that said, I'm not leaving Notre Dame unless somebody throws out $100 million or a blank check. Then I'd have to talk to my wife about it because then we'd have to consider it. LSU is going to give him $95 million over 10 years, which is an ungodly amount of money. That's crazy. But at the same time, I don't really understand it because Notre Dame is going to be in the college football playoff. The only contingency is if Alabama loses, or if Alabama wins. I'm sorry. If Alabama is more than likely going to lose in the SEC championship game to a stacked Georgia roster. And if that's the case, Alabama then drops out of the top 4. Notre Dame is in. This is being shot before the college football playoff reveal. Keep that in mind. So I don't know how it's going to shake out. I imagine that it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati will be your top 4 in some order. Definitely Michigan, definitely Georgia, probably Cincinnati. I hope Cincinnati. So it's weird that Brian Kelly would leave a team that he has built up very well, a team that will more than likely be in the college football playoff by this time next week, to go to LSU. And granted, LSU, you're not going to have the same struggles you would at Notre Dame as far as academic-wise, because Notre Dame is a very, very prestigious academic institution. So you're not handcuffed by that as much. You're going to have a lot of resources, especially down south in the SEC, in Louisiana. You're going to have a lot of resources at your disposal. So I get why, kind of, but also at the same time, let's think about this for a second. Brian Kelly is a 61-year-old coach. I don't see him having the same recruiting draw as some of those other coaches in the SEC. You know, I've never sat down with Brian Kelly. I don't know how he is in those homes with those kids. But all I know is if I was 18 years old and I was a prized high school recruit, I'd much rather go play for Coach O than Brian Kelly. I can tell you that right now. And I know Coach O has not done well since that national championship win. You know, he's gone 500 those last 2 years. So I get why they fired him because there's a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of pressure to win. But also, like, as far as other SEC coaches, I'd much rather play for Nick Saban. You know, I would much rather play for Jimbo Fisher. I don't know if I'd play for Brian Kelly. He doesn't really seem like that big of a draw to me. He obviously can win, and he did well enough in Notre Dame to be the winningest coach in program history. He's led them to probably 3 or 4 college football playoffs. And that's a whole different argument for another day because I could go all into that Notre Dame thing. You know, I don't think they're legitimate until they join a conference. But at the same time, I think they would join the ACC to begin with. That conference isn't even that good. So I really don't know. But every year they make it to the playoffs, they get steamrolled by an SEC school. So I don't really want to get into that. I could go down that whole rabbit hole right now, but we got other things to talk about. Notre Dame's a good football team. Brian Kelly leaving it, I don't know where that leaves them. Especially if they make it into the playoff this year. He won't be there. Time remains to be seen. I don't really love that hire for LSU. I think you could have done something else, but I could see the appeal. He's a winning coach. He recruits well. And there was an interesting stat thrown out too. Brian Kelly has left schools after winning 12, 13 games twice. I don't know, people will remember this. Before Notre Dame, he was the head football coach at Cincinnati. And he built that team to a level that they are now. Like, in between Luke Fickell and Brian Kelly, you had this thing in the middle, and then the rest of the history before Brian Kelly, where they weren't a good football team. They weren't a good football program. And Brian Kelly led them to so much success. And people will remember this. Tim Tebow's senior year, they were ranked 5th, and they were in the Sugar Bowl, and they were playing the number 3 team in the country. And it was Brian Kelly's Cincinnati, led by quarterback Tony Pike, who I loved watching in college, by the way. He had no success in the NFL, but I loved watching Tony Pike in college. So, but he's left situations, like good situations, twice now. Cincinnati to Notre Dame to LSU. And speaking of which, if I'm LSU, why aren't you throwing that money at Luke Fickell? Throw that money at Luke Fickell. He's been terrific. If I'm a college president, college athletic director, and I have all this money at my disposal, I'm putting it towards Luke Fickell because he has done an outstanding job, especially recruiting. Cincinnati just got their highest rated recruit in program history not even a week ago. He's done a very good job building that football team. He had great success at Ohio State. And there's been a few Ohio State guys who haven't been good college football coaches at the head level, especially Chris Ash. I hate Chris Ash. People don't know who he is. Chris Ash was the co-defensive coordinator with Luke Fickell at Ohio State. And Chris Ash got hired to be the Rutgers head coach before Schiano. And he had like 3 wins in 3 years. It was horrible. Oh, it was a nightmare. Thank God for Schiano. Thank God for that, man. I mean, I know we didn't make it to a bowl this year, but look out for Rutgers. Look out for Rutgers. But Lincoln Riley is heading to USC. Brian Kelly is heading for LSU. So now Oklahoma has to fill their spot. Notre Dame has to fill their spot. A bunch of other schools have to fill their spot. You know, there's a couple other hires that happened within the past couple of weeks. Sonny Dykes from SMU is now going to TCU. What else happened? Clay Helton is going to Georgia Southern, which is an interesting hire because Clay Helton had okay success at USC, and Georgia State has been one of those teams that's been very pesky over the past couple of years. They've been a very pesky football team as far as beating higher-ranked teams. And also, I'm curious to see what that offense does because they are traditionally a option-first offense, like a triple option wishbone offense. And that's not Clay Helton's offense. Does he run that at Georgia State or Georgia Southern? Does he bring the spread to Georgia Southern? Who knows? But it's going to be fun to watch. Watching Georgia Southern is cool. They also, I think they have like the simplest, coolest uniforms in college football. But we're going to move away from college football because we're going to go into something I don't really talk about a lot in the show because it's not my big area of expertise. But we're going to talk about the New York Mets because they are spending money like the New York Yankees, and it's awesome. This is like the weirdest time to be in New York City. If you're a Yankees fan, you're sitting there like, the Mets are spending all this money. When are we going to do something? And it's never been that way. Ever. Not once. It has always been the Yankees throwing a bunch of money at these big-name free agents. And the Mets fans are just sitting there like, just do something. Make a move. And most of the time, those moves weren't even good by the Mets. Jason Bay, Bobby Bonilla. Just so many. You know, being a beta New York sports fan is just depressing. At least just Jets and Mets. But now, Uncle Stevie's throwing out that money for the New York Mets. And I love it. They just signed, for people who don't follow baseball, for people who don't really follow baseball news, the Mets on Monday signed all-star pitcher Max Scherzer to a 3-year, $130 million contract. So, for big-time baseball fans, you know that the Mets 1 and the Mets 2 in their starting pitching rotation is by far the best in baseball. Jacob deGrom as your ace, Max Scherzer as your 2 is ridiculous. That is the best 1-2 combo of starting pitchers that the MLB might have ever seen. It is ridiculous. I am so excited for that. And that's what happens when you have an owner who has money, who is willing to spend it. Not like the recent years with the Wilpons, who got caught up in that Ponzi scheme and didn't have any money and didn't want to sell the team because they love owning the Mets. And they screwed us every year because they wouldn't spend money. Now we got this guy who's willing to spend money. So if it fails, you can't say we didn't try. You can't say that Uncle Stevie didn't try to fix the problems because he's been trying to fix those problems. Giving Max Scherzer 130 for 3, you know, that like his payroll is higher than some MLB teams just himself, which is awesome. I think it's great. Why not? Throw out that money for him. We need starting pitching. We need to make this team in the playoffs because they're good enough to be in the playoffs. So why not throw that kind of money at Max Scherzer? Now there's other needs that they have to fill, you know, but also keep in mind, aside from Scherzer, they've signed Starling Marte, who will be their opening day center fielder. They've signed Eduardo Escobar, who will be in the starting lineup in the infield come opening day. They signed Mark Canha, who's going to be a great utility guy for them. A lot like Dom Smith in that retrospect. He will be a utility guy for them. And now you have Scherzer into that mix. They have improved this offseason. They lost Javi Baez. I'm not that upset about it. I'm really not. You still have Lindor. And I know Lindor didn't have a good year last year, but I expect big things. I mean, he's got 12 years to do it, so he has time to improve. They are going to be a good baseball team. If they can just get a little bit more depth at that starting pitching 4-5 spot, because your 1-2-3 now is going to be DeGrom, Scherzer, Taijuan Walker. Carrasco is probably going to be your 4. I know he had a really bad year last year, but he has proved to be a good starting pitcher in the MLB. So that last spot, Tyler McGill, David Peterson, who both have had varying success in their very short careers in the MLB. They need something else. I feel like they need something else. I don't know what it is. I don't really know what's out there. I would love to get Stroman back, first of all. I love Marcus Stroman. It doesn't look like they're going to get him back, but there's something about Marcus Stroman that just makes me want to watch the Mets. You know? By the way, he's only 5'7" as a starting pitcher in the MLB. That's crazy. Short kings, man. I mean, I'm not one of them. 6'3", for any girls watching, I'm 6'3". But Marcus Stroman just has this electric attitude that he can just jack up any fan in the stands at Citi Field. So I hope he does well. I know he's probably not coming back. I hope he does well. I know he's left a bitter taste in Mets fans' mouths because of some things he said on Twitter about Mets not respecting him as a player or whatever. He's probably right too. If they're not going to give you the type of money you feel like you deserve, that you should get, then yeah, leave. It just sucks to see you go. It really does. But I talked about this a little. We're going to get away from baseball now. I don't like to talk too much baseball, guys. I know, I'll talk Mets all day. I'm just not super into baseball. And I don't want to talk about something that I don't know a whole lot about because I feel like I'll just get roasted for it later. So let's just move away from it. Go Mets. Go Uncle Steve. Go Scherzer. Go DeGrom. Let's fucking go Mets. Let's go. But we're going to talk about the college football playoff rankings a little bit because, like I said before, these rankings will not come out these rankings will come out before this show airs on Wednesday. Your top four on Tuesday night will more than likely be Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, Alabama, in some order, in one of those orders. That will be your college football playoff by the time the playoff starts if Alabama wins the SEC championship game. If they lose that game, it will either be Notre Dame, which will probably be Notre Dame, or Oklahoma State. And for a lot of college football fans, I know they would much rather see Oklahoma State. I think that'd be awesome. They've been great all year. Spencer Sanders is a great quarterback. He's a great college quarterback. He's done a very nice job this year, and they just beat Oklahoma in Bedlam, granted, but they beat them by like 5. This is a big win. It's a big statement win. And they've been good all year. They had one slip up. That's it. And they only lost by 3 or 4 to Iowa State, who is a sneaky good team. I would love to see them in the playoff. But the committee will more than likely give it to Notre Dame. I know all my guys at Mercy will love to see it because they're big, big Notre Dame fans. And just keep in mind, too, that Alabama could still win this game and get into the playoff. I don't see them doing it. That Georgia football team is ridiculous. Defense is just full of monsters, man. They're just so good on defense. Their offense leaves a lot to be desired. But also, what I think is an underrated story of the college football year, which I don't think anybody talks about. Georgia's quarterback, their starting quarterback, is Stetson Bennett IV. Stetson Bennett is a walk-on. He's not a Baker Mayfield type walk-on either. He's not like this dynamic guy who's just a little short and couldn't get that big offer he wanted. No, Stetson Bennett just walked on the football team at Georgia. Just walked on. He's from Georgia, high school player. I'm going to walk on the football team at Georgia. And now he's going to be competing for a national championship in a couple weeks, which is, I think, great. And he also, by the way, beat out a former number 1 5-star recruit in JT Daniels, who was at USC, transferred to Georgia, thinking he had that starting spot locked up after Fromm left. And he did not have it locked up. Stetson Bennett, he came for it. So he beat out JT Daniels. He beat out DeJuan Mathis, who's now at Temple, former 4-star recruit. I think that's awesome. And I know their offense isn't great, but your offense has to play well if you want to win. You're not going to win many games if your offense is playing like garbage. So clearly, he's doing something right. So I'd like to see them win it this year too. And if not that, I want Cincinnati to win this championship so badly. And also, I want there to be a Cincinnati Notre Dame final because in the Mercy Lacrosse House, it will be a zoo. It will be crazy. It will be on Christmas break, and I know all of us will come back for it because there's a bunch of people on our team who, like I said before, that are Notre Dame fans. And there's a bunch of us on this football team that hate all those kids that are Notre Dame fans. And we're going to be pulling for Cincinnati like we have all year because we think it's awesome. So it's going to be an exciting end of the college football season. It always is. College football traditionally is so fun. It's really fun. These kids are just playing for the love of the game. That's what people say. That's why it's better than the NFL. That's why people say it's better than the NFL. I go back and forth on it, but I can't deny that college football, the electric feeling of it, is ridiculous. That's going to wrap my show today, guys. Before I leave, I just want to give one more shout out again to Who's Drankin, the first sponsor, the first partner of the Hit with Higgins. I'll tell you, I'm going to launch, or they're launching on Friday with all their social media. Their first merch drop comes out January 3rd. I'm going to post the account names in my bio on this YouTube page, on this YouTube video. I follow them. I'll tag them. Guys, check it out. It's going to be awesome. The merch is cool. Here, one more time. Got Who's Drankin right here. Check it out, guys. It's going to be awesome. But make sure to like, subscribe to my channel, follow the Instagram account, follow the Twitter account. It's just the Hit with Higgins. See you guys next Wednesday.